Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer, that podcast you turn on when you get a little sad and lonely. I'm your host, Marquino, Papa Marquino. Welcome, boys. We got Christian.
Hey.
And also joining
us. I'm here too.
You are. Gene Steeler James, welcome back.
I'm known by many names. Some know me as the Mantis Strip Boy. Some know me as Gene Steeler Jim. Some know me as the Servant of Logar.
I don't like any of those titles. None of them are beneficial to me. All of them I would fight against, but I guess that's what we
don't get a choice. You don't get a choice. They're all my names. I choose them.
Yeah, today we are talking Thunder Warriors, but before we get into that, we got a little bit of housekeeping. We did that 30-minute promo episode the other week just so we didn't have to do 30 minutes before we got into the topic. But a little bit of housekeeping. Yeah, welcome to the show. If you're watching live for the first time, this is kind of crazy. We got all three of our faces up. We got a chat room going, kind of interesting. I don't know what to say about it. I want somebody to yell at me already. Drop memes in the chat. That's what I like to see. But
turn on everyone's audio so they can just jump in whenever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's risky.
Exactly. Wait, I think I want to listen to them is the thing. I think I'm doing this whole podcast.
We're doing this backwards.
Fuck. Well, we'll carry on regardless, I guess. So if you want to join the live stream, go check us out on Patreon. That's how you can do it. You become a member, and then in a couple minutes or half hour before the show starts, we send out a link. You click on the link, boom, you're in the live stream, and it's pretty cool. If you don't have a couple bucks to throw us, I get that. It's all good. The Emperor doesn't forgive you, but I do. The episode will be coming out on the following Wednesday. So we're going back to our bi-weekly recording schedule. Friday nights at 8:30 Central Standard Time, we go live, and then the following Wednesday, the podcast version comes out. Listener lore. I've had a lot of people say, is listener lore coming back too? And listener lore never left. It was always deep in my soul, longing to be read. So yeah, no, it's coming back. Me and Gerald are going to be heading that off. So if you have lore of your army or a cool campaign that you did or short story, just whatever, man, you can send it into lorehammerpodcast@gmail.com, and then eventually I'll read it on the show. I've read over probably close to 250 different people's stories now. It's been a lot. You guys have both been on there with
500.
Me. Yeah. I always said that was my goal with the listener lore. You don't have to be afraid until I hit 500. Then I might call it quits. But so let's get there. Send it into lorehammerpodcast@gmail.com. And the final thing before we get into the notes, our Discord, it has been active even for the last 2 years that we've been gone. People are still modeling and hobbying and posting all their stuff. And it's just a great way to connect with any of us, ideally. Or you can do Facebook, Instagram, or any of that kind of stuff. But Discord's definitely the place.
Yeah, that's where the party is.
Yeah, it's crazy how much activity there still is in there, honestly. I jumped in, and man, it's people are bumping in there.
Yeah, no, it's been a good 2 years. Even though Lorehammer was on a slight hiatus there, the community's been very active. So that's always, I think that's part of why I came back. One too many people just that inbox filled up of come back.
Too many threatening letters.
Yeah,
I know where you live.
Well, they don't know me where I live now. They can pinpoint to Panama, and that's about it. Come stay at my Airbnb.
Then you'll know exactly where he lives.
Yeah. Let's jump into this, man. We haven't talked 40K in 2 years, the three of us. We're talking the Thunder Warriors. We're picking it up right where we kind of left off in the story. Our last episode was episode on the Emperor. And I remember doing it, and the Siege of Terra books hadn't fully come out. They were on book 3 or 4. So I haven't even updated myself on what actually happened to the Emperor. I don't know. I really don't, but we know what happens with the Thunder Warriors. Is he?
No, I'm not going to spoil it.
You don't know.
I haven't read it.
You don't even know.
I don't know.
So it's kind of going to be a nice little let's jump to something that we do know about him, and then I can catch up on what actually happened with the Emperor. Kind of how we kind of intended things to play out.
Let's do an
Thunder Legion.
Emperor 2 episode after this.
Yeah, man. Since we're talking about messages and redos, there's a couple episodes we're redoing just because people ask all the time, either because they're so shitty or they wanted more. But there would definitely be an Imperial Knight episode redo. We had bad audio quality for half that episode, unfortunately. Horus Heresy episode redo. Definitely doing that. We lost half that episode. Space Wolves, somehow those sneaky furries sneak in again.
How did we do no like space marines and yet somehow they snuck in?
Well, this is what happened. We're like, Lorehammer's ending. Okay, so we know we have 5 more episodes. What are we gonna do? And Eric's like, Space Wolves. I'm like, you son of a bitch. That's why you're not coming back. So Thunder Legion. We're talking about the first kind of gene soldiers that the Emperor created. The Thunder Warriors, also known as the Thunder Legion or Legio Catagius, were the genetically engineered warriors of Terra, created by the Emperor of Mankind to unite the homeworld of humanity beneath his rule in the 30th millennium. The Thunder Warriors were elite super soldiers who marched alongside the Emperor to conquer Terra during the brutal wars of unification. The arcane engineering used by the Emperor to forge these Thunder Warriors created superior fighters, yet it was less efficient than the methods later employed to create the Space Marines. The technology of the time was primitive, and the geneticists, mere shadows of what they would become, were not entirely willing either. These Proto-Astartes were organized into 20 regiments, each numbering no more than a few hundred warriors. Although, as we go through this number changes a little bit, but we'll get to that. With each regiment personally named by the Emperor. The Thunder Warriors waged relentless war through the Unification Wars, ultimately uniting Terra under the iron rule of the Emperor for the first time in a millennia. According to Grim legend, all the Thunder Warriors met their end during the final cataclysmic battle of the Unification Wars at the Battle of Mount Ararat. Yeah, so the Thunder Warriors are kind of interesting because there's a couple words I intentionally used here, like arcane engineering and geneticists. They got this combination of science and, magic.
Yeah, they're not quite like the Space Marines. They're just weird. There's something different altogether. And the interesting thing too is the thing that they're not entirely willing. So some of them are like kidnapped or I don't know, just like picked up from somewhere and forced and drafted into becoming these monsters.
Yeah, and they're not like Space Marines where they undergo all that hypno indoctrination and all that kind of stuff beforehand either. So yeah, they're very different in that way too.
There is like a little bit more of an indication too that like they're not the same way. Like there's almost a scientific process to the Astartes. There's more like this is just kind of like the Emperor's throwing some stuff together. It's a little bit less polished in a lot of ways than the Astartes are.
Yeah, like if we could turn arcane into like warp fuckery, the Space Marines, they don't have any of that in them. In fact, a lot of them might even have that built-in resistance a little bit, almost like Grey Knights. They have that little bit, but even when you fight in the battles against evil, you're not going to have enough, so they fall all the time. But yeah, that's kind of that difference, is that kind of that magic aspect in creating these. And then they're prone to fits of rage, and they're not controlled because they don't undergo any of that indoctrination they pick up this like techno barbarian warlord and his 50 men. Boom, you got a sweet regiment of Thunder Warriors now.
Yeah, they're a lot more like savage humans. Like if you gave like juice up a person today or from like the Bronze Age.
Yeah. That's almost kind of like an interesting way to look at the technology levels. You don't quite dial them into bronze and iron and copper and all that, but you could do brass, adamantium would be like the highest, maybe, kind of a cool way to differentiate the tiers of Space Marines even. Anyways, That's a crazy thought. We got gold custodes, so that's
I'm sure that's an age.
I need to work on this.
All right, let's get into the Age of Strife. So the Age of Strife, also known as Old Night, was a time of unparalleled destruction, anarchy, and regression preceding the rise of the Imperium. This era followed the Dark Age of technology, a bygone age of immense prosperity and advancement. The Age of Strife commenced in M25 and endured until the dawning of M30. Terra, along with the rest of the solar system, was besieged by terrible warp storms, isolating humanity's cradle for several thousand harrowing years. Control of the solar system shifted tumultuously between Terra and Mars during the chaotic first half of the Age of Strife. By the 28th millennium, almost all vestiges of the civilizations on Earth had been obliterated. In their place, savage techno-barbarians clashed endlessly over the remnants of ancient glory. Terra was transformed into a blood-soaked battleground, contested by the ruthless warlords and marauding techno-barbarian hordes. Yeah, so that's just some context for the time place for the Thunder Warriors.
Yeah,
the world is
why
like
did
a
the
lot.
Emperor have to reconquer Terra? What happened there?
Yes.
You tell me we haven't gotten along?
Yeah, humans are known for getting along swimmingly.
Well, it definitely has that like kind of Mad Maxy vibe of just like there's just lunatics riding around on bikes and shooting stuff, spraying spray cans in their mouths, and it has like that same vibe.
Wearing BDSM gear.
Why? I don't know. Wouldn't that be difficult to move around in your vehicle? No, it doesn't matter.
It's just very breezy.
It's breezy. Got to keep cool in the Holy Terra, you know.
Less clothes to clean the blood of your enemies off too. You know, there's a lot of benefits to wearing that stuff. Yeah, I kind of love this setting of the techno barbarians and just that. You know, you could come up with 1,000 cool warlords on this planet. I'm looking at, for people who are watching the live stream, we got a picture of artwork, and it's Thunder Warriors, and the one almost looks like he has like a samurai faceplate on, you know, and the rest of it's very, Thunder Warrior, and then one in the back has like a wolf head on. Like you could kind of picture these two guys are from very different parts of Terra, and have kind of incorporated into that their armor and stuff, that independence we were talking about that they kind of have as opposed to Space Marines.
Yeah, they're like unique individual warriors, right? Like they're more in it for themselves when they fight.
Very cool.
Yeah, techno barbarians too are a cool concept that I think GW could explore more.
Oh, so you're saying they need another setting where it's like 30K,
a whole series of books,
40K, and then I also get to play techno barbarian.
Yes. Well, where do you go from the Horus Heresy? You go back a bit.
Yeah, exactly. We're almost milked the Horus Heresy thing dry.
That's true. Yeah. I'm in. I'd buy the models. I'm a chump.
Yeah, like these techno barbarians would be like if we let Olympians today use steroids and stuff, where they're just like the most crazy fit barbarian people out there, you know,
and then have like orcish technology.
Yeah.
I wish there was more on them. Also not related to the techno barbarian of our era, if everyone's familiar with that. That is not what we're talking about.
Maybe same music though. Maybe.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yo, I listened to this one band. I was on another podcast, a hobby podcast, Knights of the Hobby Table. And we listened to a metal album. It was so good. I wish I remembered what it was called, but that's life.
But that is suitable music for this era too.
That is suitable. That's what I was picturing. Techno Barbarian, Harry Metal, and He-Man.
All just mashed together.
Exactly. The Unification Wars. By M29, Terra had been consumed by the chaos and anarchy of the Age of Strife for several thousand years. Terra was a violent cauldron fragmented into city-states ruled by techno-barbarian warlords and various other political parties. As Slaanesh neared its birth at the heart of the Elder Empire, the warp storms tormenting humanity's homeworld began to calm. Sensing the opportune moment, a being known as the Emperor commenced his campaign to reclaim the Earth. For the first time, the Emperor revealed himself openly, leading his Thunder Warriors, genetically engineered super soldiers created in secret laboratories, on a relentless series of campaigns against the warlords and techno-barbarians of Old Earth. Yeah, Old Earth, man. That would be the name of the setting, maybe.
I'm in. I can already picture the models, like each one having like they allow customization on every chest plate. They're all unique. I mean, you could just 3D print this, honestly. You don't even need GW for it.
That's for anyone that's out there listening.
Yeah. fuck GW. We like their lore sometimes, but 3D printing, man. I have my first like full 3D printed models nowadays, and like they're 10 out of 10. GW doesn't stand a chance. Yeah.
Anyway.
So anyone from GW who wants to come on our show, love to have you again, Graham McNeil. That was fun. His forces included not only the Thunder Warriors, but also the Custodian Guard, early formations of the Imperial Army, such as the Geno 5 to Chiliad and the Infernatelli Hussars, and eventually the Proto Astartes. These forces wielded the advanced weaponry of the Terra clan, secured through a crucial alliance forged by the Emperor. Thus did the Emperor begin his assault on the major powers of Terra. There's a bunch of cool battles on, like if you go searching for them on Lexicanum, Wikia, there's a bunch of cool ones. I highly recommend go checking that out. We picked a couple of our favorite ones that we wanted to share. It's the story of, the Emperor just going from city to city, destroying the place. Sometimes he orbital bombards it. Sometimes he invades it. Sometimes he just negotiates through sheer surrender. Yeah, exactly. But these were some of the favorites. I chose, this place is called America. And,
I think it's supposed to be Mercy, yeah. But
well, I imagine they have some type of accent there. So I'm trying to be appropriate to the old Earth times here. So this is a major kingdom, and it was known for its high fashion and ballrooms. And it fell to the Emperor's forces quickly and violently, believe it or not.
No way. Quickly and violently.
Yeah. I just love that.
Yeah, you're going to notice that.
The image of the people in the ballroom dancing, and then Thunder Warriors
burst in like the Kool-Aid Man, just like through a wall.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Start butchering everyone.
No doors.
Heroic story.
Yeah, well, I mean, it didn't say they fought back. Okay, he said it ended brutally.
It's a very one-sided battle.
Yeah,
but in the records, it's like this glorious battle. Yeah. That's how they record it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one thing that's interesting about what. I just want to pull one thing out from what you said there, because you mentioned that the custodians are there right from the beginning, which is very interesting because the Emperor perfects basically his genetic process in creating the custodians, which are the best. And then he I don't know what the heck he did when he went to the Thunder Warriors. Maybe it was just I need more, and the custodians are just not voluminous enough. And so it's just I need something. And so he throws out this army that are not that great, but at least their quantity is up there, at least compared to the custodians.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's mass production versus his very elite bodyguards.
Were there it's 10,000, right? Were there the 10,000 right off the bat, or did he eventually get to 10,000?
All good questions.
I'm pretty sure there was a 10,000 off the bat, but
yeah, that's my understanding too.
They changed those numbers, and depending on when you look, who knows?
Yeah, no, I think because of the process so slow to create custodians, it's probably something he built up over time. So maybe he had a handful, and then by the end of the Unification Wars, he had more, and then eventually gets the whole 10,000. But I have no reference for this. That's how I understand.
What we do know about the Emperor is he was around on Earth as late as the Dark Ages, actual medieval times, fighting dragons apparently. So not that he's creating Thunder Warriors out back then, but there was a certain point during the unification of Terra where he did reveal himself, and here he is. So I'd imagine at that point he would he could have had 500 years to create immortal custodians, and have the 10,000 ready to go at that point.
But we don't know how long the process takes even to create one, right? And if he loses any.
GW wants them on tabletop, so you can make them pretty quick. Apparently, they die quick.
Some glue and gold paint.
Glue and gold. Can of runic gold spray paint, and you get
fully forged human. Actually, on that note too, I do want to touch on something there with the human aspect. So you have units like the Geno 5 to Chiliad and the Infertile Hussars, that these human regiments carry on even into, I don't know if they go all the way to 40K, but they certainly are around all the way into the Great Crusade, which on human scale is a lot of time.
Yeah, there's evidence of warriors that fought on Terra right up to the beginning of the Horus Heresy. I think that's in the first few books. There's mentions of them.
Yeah, so it's just a cool little like nod to sell the humans in the background that are, part of the Emperor's forces.
Yeah, like we were talking, they go to like that warlord tribe and they take the 50 best warriors. But what happens to the 500 worst warriors? Well, you're handed a las rifle, I guess, and
or you're executed.
Part of the Imperial Army.
Yeah, these are your choices.
Yeah, and then it'd be cool to have some of those regiments. Like, yeah, they progress from that point, but yeah, like who knows how many or how established even some of these regiments are before the Emperor. Like,
right. Yeah, how far back their histories go.
Yeah, because not every place he conquers, some see who he's conquered and now are friends. So
yeah, there's lots of people that gave into the Emperor willingly without like fighting. So like those loyal units could have just been like adopted into the army as is. So.
Yeah, I think there is so much here for that old Earth thing, man. I remember
copyright it.
You did a kill team of Thunder Warriors many years ago, and you were talking about this old Earth setting, and I wasn't fully on board. But I think I'm there. I think I'm ready
persuaded?
I think so. Yeah.
See, all my ideas are great. It just takes you years to come around to them.
Well, the next thing too is you could do like lots of different interesting things with them because like you get all these weird like feral looking people running around doing stuff, and you gotta have armies of like Mad Maxy trucks and stuff going around with las cannons on top, and I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, man. Abhumans would be acceptable kind of then too, so that even opens up a whole fucking thing.
Yeah, you could do so many things with it.
Yeah, because you could choose one of the major factions, or just like you could be some random barbarian rolling around. There's no limit.
Okay, so this is what the game has to be. So we're talking about 3D printing. This is such a train derailment, but also on subject. So we're talking about 3D printing. So they come up with just custom rules for regiments. So it's like, this is how you make your regiment rules wise. We don't even provide minis for you. Make your own.
GW is definitely not going for that, but
we're doing this. We're doing it. We're
this is our project
for the old Terra.
Warhammer Old Earth.
Yeah. Oh, it'd have to be like Hammer War Old Earth.
Something so legally we don't get sued. Maybe I'm Spanish now, so maybe we do it in Spanish. What is Warhammer in Spanish? Christian, you're also Spanish, so you might know.
Don't put me on the spot. Martillo de Guerra.
Martillo de Gala. Yeah, man, that has a nice ring to it.
There it is.
I like it. And even Terra and Old Earth. Yeah, okay, we'll work on it. What was your favorite way that the Emperor conquered some poor hapless country?
So I had a few options. I'm a sucker for an empire fighting itself, so the Horus Heresy is definitely like up my alley. But I don't want to give away any spoilers for this episode. So I was debating either like the Battle of Mount Ararat or the Palace Coup. But if you're talking about fighting other barbarian warlords, definitely the Ethnarchy. I just copied their page because there's a lot about them that I just wanted to read here. Sure. So the Ethnarchy is known to have commanded formidable forces consisting of genetically modified warriors known as the Cassis, dangerous weapons from the dark age of technology, and enslaved psychers. The first attempt by Imperial forces to capture the Ethnarchy strongholds earlier in the war had cost the lives of 20,000 Thunder warriors and 1 million other casualties. Towards the end of the Unification Wars, the Emperor began his second attempt to topple the Ethnarchy. This time, the XV3, what is that? 18th?
I don't know. I don't know numerals.
The 18th Legion of the Legion's Astartes was tasked with destroying the subterranean power generators, feeding the Ethnarchy's power fields. In the ensuing assault on the Tempest galleries, the 18th Legion was victorious and was with their force fields down. The Ethnarchy was quickly crushed by the forces of the Emperor. So there's a lot there, especially with what we're talking about, building your own factions, like slave psychers, other genetically enhanced super soldiers, the Cassis. There's just like so much potential there.
That's an aspect too. In this time, the Age of Strife, the whole reason why Terra was cut off was all these crazy warp storms. So psychers are prime for this era too.
Yeah, there's lots of factions where they have like rogue psycher warlords or psycher slaves. Like And then Dark Age of technology weapons, like that could be anything, right? Like again, there's so much you could do with this, and the fact that they resisted the Emperor the first time.
Yeah,
they actually put up a
who
fight.
can say that?
20,000 Thunder Warriors killed. Like that's
on
crazy.
that number. That would technically be. I gave that first number of 200 guys in each regiment. Then that would be everyone's dead. All the Thunder Warriors.
Yeah, like wiped out.
That was maybe his starting number that he walked onto the field with. You know.
Yeah, that's what I imagine.
But that's
numbers
a good
in 40K, man. You can't trust them.
You can't trust 40K numbers for sure. But hey, man, at least we know they can lose 20,000 Thunder Warriors and still keep going. I think one thing to note is why they lost so many, or one of the main reasons was that Psyker thing. And we were talking about the arcane engineering, and we get later onto it in the creation process a little bit. The Thunder Warriors are Psyker resistant to some degree. So they're like blasting bolts and stuff, and, you know, they can shrug them off just a touch better. And maybe it's more on the lines of like mind control psychic powers that they can resist.
Yeah, like they can't be influenced or
exactly. Maybe it's more that as opposed to like, you know, a deflection of bolts and stuff.
Yeah, they're not like Grey Knights, like force fields or whatever.
Yeah.
One more interesting note too is the fact that the Astartes are fighting, like they're actually deployed towards the end of the Unification Wars too. Mm-hmm. So there was an overlap period where the Thunder Warriors and the Space Marines were around at the same time, like doing the Emperor's Will on Terra. And the early Space Marine legions were fighting during the Unification Wars. So,
yeah. Shout out to.
I think
Alex
some of those.
Sorry, James, go.
No, I was going to say I think some of those Space Marines are the ones that like interact directly with like Loken in the beginning of the Horus Heresy too.
Yeah, the Terra Marines.
Yeah, so some of those guys last a whole long time, and then they're interacting with like later stories. So it's like this is like their origin. Like, I mean, how crazy would that be if you were like one of the Space Marines that like fought on Terra with the Emperor, and then you're like right at the end of the Great Crusade too? You're just like, I don't even care anymore.
But that's also a good reason why a lot of them stayed loyal, because they saw the Emperor, they fought alongside him for years before even like meeting their Primarchs. So that's why like Terran-born Marines are more likely to be loyalists, even in traitor legions.
Yeah. Proto Astartes you mentioned too. So like people like Cor Farion, I believe, Luther, you know, these kind of
half-human hybrids.
Yeah, where they're not fully there. They might have some gene seed, but not really, you know. But I actually got called out on this the other day about apparently we said that, you know, they weren't there. The Astartes weren't on Terra, but yeah, no, I guess they were. So good times.
It's well documented. Look in the books.
Yeah. Never. I will not. I will not do that. James, did you have a favorite battle that
well, okay, I didn't have a favorite battle, but there is one story that I want to highlight that's kind of in this moment, and it's a tangent, so bear with me. But
we're going on it. I'm with you, buddy.
There's this one story called The Last Church. And it's like a short story where the Emperor basically just says, I'm going to blow up your church. All religion is false, and I'm going to like annihilate this thing. And so this just gives me a little room for a little bit of a fan theory that the Emperor is Satan, and all 40K and 30K afterwards is hell, and everyone else got raptured, and everyone else is just getting reincarnated over and over again in hell. And it'll never end. That's why war never ends, is because they're in hell.
Hey, I like it.
So that's my little.
That's your favorite battle.
Yeah, that's my favorite battle. The
both mentally for you,
spiritually.
And spiritually.
I mean,
that's a fun little thought. Okay,
everyone's in hell. It never ends.
And the Emperor is Satan.
The Emperor is Satan. Okay. It fits.
Okay.
Are you starting a cult, James?
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm starting a new church, and it's all about
everyone. It's called The Last Church.
James complained at.
That's right.
Always remember. Might also be jamescomplaint@gmail.com. We'll figure that out and let you know.
Send the Pope James's email.
I'm more like anti-Pope over there. Yeah, no, that Last Church book was so great. Like, there's so many good scenes, and it goes into more of the philosophy of 40K as opposed to just the bolter porn of 40K. So very good book. Short story, I suppose.
There's a cool audio reading of it on YouTube, like a fan made one, and they like dramatize it. It's really good. I wish I knew the creator, but you can look it up.
Very cool. Among the final, so he goes and he conquers a bunch of places. Like I said, go check out their page and you can learn a bunch. Among the final anti-imperial warlords to be vanquished was Cardinal Tang, who still defied imperial rule by 703 M30, even as most of Terra had already bowed to the Imperium. In that year, the Emperor set his sights on Luna, swiftly occupying it in a decisive campaign. Following his military victories, the Emperor sought to propagate his imperial truth across Terra, ruthlessly enforcing atheism and eradicating the planet's churches. The final bastion of religious defiance, the Church of the Lightning Stone, was destroyed shortly before the commencement of the Great Crusade. The Unification Wars were officially concluded during 712 M30. Yeah, so even after that, even after he conquered Terra, there's kind of a 9-year gap. And in that period, that's maybe where those proto-Astartes kind of start coming back and appearing a little bit.
Yeah.
Now that
how long is the Unification Wars? I'm bad with numbers, like dates.
I'll see
it on it, James.
Jamie, pull it up.
Jamesy.
I don't know if I wrote down an exact date it started. Unfortunately. No, unfortunately I didn't. So maybe James will have to look that up.
Yeah, he's googling it up in the back.
I'm pulling it up here.
Yeah.
It's doing the whole centuries date, and I always get those confused because I'm dyslexic apparently.
I just want to know the time frame for our new setting.
The prisms, do ya?
What's that?
Nothing at all. Don't mind me over here. I suffer from it too. So yeah, man, so cool. There's just so many cool little mini battles, major battles, characters that could happen.
Yeah, it's its own setting.
Its own setting. And, I'm sure it's going to carry on. The Thunder Warriors are going to carry on into this glorious new age of the Great Crusade that has been announced.
That is guaranteed.
I'm sure.
Sign up today.
All right, Christian, you want to read the next little bit? I thought I set you up so perfectly for the culling, but...
You missed 2 points.
Oh.
After securing Terra and Luna.
Dumb bitch.
I'm waiting for you.
Okay, well, here we go. The Unification Wars were officially concluded in 712. After securing Terra and Luna and gaining the allegiance of the Mechanicum of Mars, the Emperor launched his monumental Great Crusade. Over the next 200 years, the Emperor led the Astartes legions in a relentless campaign to reconquer vast swaths of the galaxy to find the lost Primarchs. Okay, I'll try to set you up again here.
I was about to say.
So the Emperor took the Astartes? No mention of the Thunder
Warriors. Why not? Where could they go?
Where could they have been?
The culling.
No!
Imperial history asserts that the Thunder Warriors perished to the last and final battle of the Unification Wars, the Battle of Mount Ararat, with the legions Astartes created to succeed them. Yet, according to Eric Tyrannus, a surviving Thunder Warrior, the Emperor neither replenished their numbers nor allowed them to endure. He may have orchestrated a massacre of the hyper-violent and short-lived Thunder Warriors to clear the path for his stable, mass-produced Astartes warriors. The tale of Mount Ararat might have been fabricated as a cover-up, or the battle itself used to expend the last of the Thunder Warriors. While they were apt for the brutal conquest of Terra, they did not align with the Emperor's vision for warriors capable of conquering the galaxy. It is implied that the purges of the Thunder Warriors were executed by the Custodian Guard. Another source suggests that upon discovering their doomed lifespans, the Thunder Warriors revolted against the Emperor, prompting the Custodes to annihilate them. Yeah, so this is what I was debating having as my favorite battle, is the Battle of Mount Ararat. Yeah, like I said, it's like they do the Emperor's will, they conquer all the Emperor's enemies, and then there's this great betrayal, and the Custodes themselves are implicated in annihilating the Thunder Warriors. which is very cool.
Yeah. It's just interesting, you know, we hear about this great battle, but not once do we hear about who they were fighting.
I imagine they actually had a legitimate enemy.
Sure.
And then like the custodians just like came up behind them at like they raised the final banner on the mountaintop and then just
not today, boys.
Yeah, get Order 66 in the back.
Yeah.
Right. Like
that's kind of how I was picturing it go down kind of that way too. It's just like they're about to win. And it cost them a lot. Like maybe the Emperor was like diverting resources in ways that kind of made it more difficult. And maybe he was pushing them in ways that would have caused more casualties than necessary. But then at the final bit, there's probably some left over still. And he just lets them he just slaughters them. That's the way I kind of was picturing it go down.
Yeah, like if we're just talking fake 40K numbers, you know, they probably have a lot of Thunder Warriors still, and for the custodians, even all 10,000 of them to kill that many Thunder Warriors, you'd have to do something like
just to like blunt their numbers,
something more. Yeah, you know, exactly. We talk later in this episode about how strong Thunder Warriors actually are in comparison to custodes and Astartes and other humans and stuff, and you know we'll get to that, but they're no slouches. So you know, think about this battle and the custodes fighting these guys when we talk about those numbers. But another thing that's interesting in this little bit is it makes sense why this had to happen. These are not good warriors. These are a bunch of techno-barbarian savages like that don't listen to you sometimes. Yeah, they might raise the entire city, but you also said don't kill any of the civilians. So it's like
well, they're all gone too.
What do you do?
Yeah, there's kind of a debate about whether or not the Emperor should have annihilated the Thunder Warriors. And, well, actually, before I get into that, even the way this whole story is framed is almost like pseudo-legend. So it's not even, like, super clear that this is factual. Although I think most people agree that it is to some degree. The details are vague on purpose. It's kind of that 40K thing of, like, is it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is interesting, like, narrative setup. But just...
Yeah, man. Going back to old Earth, like this would be if ever they did that and came out, this is the final battle, man. This is like what actually happened there.
This is like the Emperor versus Horus of the Horus heresy.
No. You guys, you got it all wrong. The last book ends just before the end of this battle. And that's where you leave it. Because I think that would be an excellent, just like leave it, like the tension of did the Emperor, like you have to intentionally, you know, like at the end of Inception, where you don't know if it falls over at the end or not. That's how I want that battle to end, is you don't know if the Emperor kills them. Yeah,
since it's UW and they're money-hungry hookers, they would still sell that end book, and you open it up and it just says redacted, and you're like, son of a bitch!
But it's also part 1, 2, and 3.
$100 gone. Curse you!
You got to get the leather-bound collector's edition of that, though.
$150 gone.
It's leather-bound, though. It's pretty.
Yeah.
This would just be such a cool battle, man. The heroes, man. At this point, everyone would be a hero in and of themselves. Like everyone's got 100 years of fighting, even the custodes. Like that's the all-time Rumble.
Well, I looked it up. It was 203 years.
The Unification Wars?
Yeah.
That's a long time to get good. Yeah. But I guess Thunder Warriors have short lifespans. And
I know, but short is relative in 40K terms. Like, there's regular humans that break 100 years. So,
how long was Eisenhorn around for?
I think it's over 100 years.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, so like, in Astartes, they don't even know if they're immortal versus a Thunder Warrior. Maybe they only make it to 400 years, which is, like, short when you compare it to immortality, right? Like,
yeah. We do know that there are Thunder Warriors in the, well, I guess we'll read the next little bit of the notes here. Survivors' fates. There were a few that actually crept away somehow. Maybe they were off on another assignment, or maybe they actually did fight their way through a bunch of custodies, broke onto some jet fighter and flew the fuck away, which is cool too.
That would be wild. Like, they're all getting slaughtered, and somehow you sneak away from custodies.
Somehow. Yeah.
Absolutely wild.
Numerous accounts speak of the lone Thunder Warriors and or groups who evaded the Emperor's culling. 4 such Thunder Warriors that I'm going to focus on survived on Terra. were forced to serve in the They were forced to serve as gladiators in the depths of the maw, near the slums known as the Swath. Despite their physical decay, they remained formidable warriors. So these 4 warriors, I guess they just kind of went to go doing what they like to do.
Killing.
They're like, I've had
There I
enough
go
killing
again.
Oh boy, here I go killing again. So these warriors were kept alive by Terra, a former astropath who acted as their master, sustaining them through the transplantation of organs from deceased Thunder Warriors. Cool. One of these survivors, Cabe, eventually perished after being incapacitated in a gladiatorial combat against the Chrono Gladiator and was then ceremoniously executed by a fellow Thunder Warrior. Oh boy, here I go killing again.
They just can't help themselves.
Who can't help it? This is what happened. The Thunder Warriors killed themselves on Mount Ararat, and the custodians were like, we didn't do it.
We didn't do this, we swear. They're just dead bodies all around them.
Another, Garriok, descended into madness and was slain where he attacked one of his comrades. The third, Vezuela Vault, met his end fighting a demonically possessed Alpha Legion warrior. He was blinded by the Astartes, acid spit, and then eviscerated. The last, Darren Herrick, received an honor death at the hands of Custodian after he defeated the possessed legionary and saved the Custodian's life. Some cool examples of surviving guys and what they got up to.
Wait. So he saves the custode, and then he's like, "All right, I'll kill you nicely, I guess." Congratulations! What a prize!
Hey, didn't I see you on Mount Ararat?
You're the guy that got away. Honestly, that might be part of it, where like the custodians are ultimately loyal to the Emperor, right? So like the order still stands if you see a Thunder Warrior.
Yeah. Sad though. He didn't have to save you.
There
There's
are
also
a bunch of others. Sorry, go for it. You're going to name one.
No, I was just going to say there's also the implication that these Thunder Warriors don't actually work for themselves. So they're like slaves of this astropath. So whatever that arrangement looks like, who knows, right? Like they're not self-governing in this case.
You ever hear when somebody gets like a heart transplant and then like they got it from a murderer and then all of a sudden they feel murderous tendencies? So now we're getting Thunder Warriors who get multiple angry hearts put inside them. Good times. Okay. Yeah, there's a bunch of Thunder Warriors who like make it. Who's the one in the Outcast Dead? By far one of the worst Horus Heresy books, but kind of interesting if you like Thunder Warriors.
They drop some cool lore, but the book itself is trash.
Yeah,
that's where the Battle of the Mount Ararat comes from. But I'll talk about the survivors. That Eric Tyrannus is that Thunder Warrior. I'm going to name him later in the episode, but we'll talk about the other survivors. So numerous accounts speak of the lone Thunder Warriors and groups who evaded the Emperor's culling. 4 such Thunder Warriors survived on Terra. Wait, you read this already, didn't you?
Yep. Now you're the dumb.
You're an idiot.
Yeah, got me.
And we're live too, and you fucked up this.
No, in front of everyone. Oh, this is embarrassing. I gotta
call it quits, boy.
Okay.
Yeah, start from the beginning. We got to do it all again.
Okay, delete this. Let's reset. All right. Do you want me to jump into the next section, Mark? Organization?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like the later legions of Astartes, the Thunder Warriors were organized into 20 legions, each commanded by a Primarch with no more than a few hundred warriors. Just an important side note, the Primarchs are not the Primarchs that we know. They're just like, it's a rank of Thunder Warrior, not like it's a special enhanced Thunder Warrior or anything like that. However, unlike the Astartes the Thunder Warriors were not physically distinct from the warriors they led. Instead, they were superlative warriors elevated to their positions by the Emperor himself. So just recognized for like just being a badass, pretty much.
Yeah.
The legions of the Thunder Warriors appear to have parallels with those of the Astartes. For instance, the 4th Legion of Thunder Warriors was known as the Iron Lords, specializing in siegecraft. This mirrors the later Iron Warriors of the Astartes. I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest.
I hate it, but if I wanted to like it, you could get really cool with it, and we could talk about Raven Guard Thunder Warriors, and you could, but do we really need 40K, 30K, and old Earth
versions?
I don't think so. Yeah,
it just seems like not creative.
Yeah, I think I wonder when this came out, this piece of lore, because this is definitely within the last 5 years, I would imagine. This, when I did these episode notes, is the first time I ever read anything about them. Especially how they're then, not only are there 20 legions, there's also Primarchs, and then on top of that, they also mimic their counters. What happened to the 2nd and 11th Thunder Legion?
Are they disappeared?
Fuck off. James, what do you think about it?
I kind of agree. I think they should have had their own kind of culture, but I guess maybe since there's nothing about them, there's not really what else are they going to do? So I would, if there ever was a time where they do an old world kind of thing, or an old Earth kind of thing.
You mean the thing we're doing?
Yeah, the thing we're doing. If they were to do that, I imagine they would make them a little more distinct, because why wouldn't you?
It's just too much, because the Thunder Warriors are wearing Mark 1 power armor, the distinct shoulder pads, pretty distinct helmet. It's just too much.
It's its own thing. It shouldn't overlap at all.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so we all agree.
Yeah.
We will dispose of this part of the lore.
Yeah, it's headcanon out. Headcanon out.
One nice
Actually,
thing
no, what we say goes. This is real canon. Real canon.
Yeah. Hey man, I've been doing push-ups. I think we could march on GW now. We got enough angry neckbeards. We could take over that company. I
could make our own
guarantee.
Thunder Warriors.
We could make
get enough steroids.
We're definitely unstable.
One thing I do like about the Thunder Warriors, they only do appear to have 2 ranks, either Primarch or Thunder Warrior. And it goes into that, they're not really about that. They're not really doing that. Each guy's his own warrior. They might have Centurions. I would be surprised if they didn't.
I mean, even the artwork, you can see that people, there's banner bearers. They probably reflect something like the Legion Astartes.
It'd be very somebody's just given the banner. Your banner guy today.
Your banner Thunder Warriors.
Or maybe it's all just honorifics, so as opposed to actual rank. So the banner guy is an honorific rank, but you're just a Thunder Warrior still.
I think that matches kind of how the army fights, though. They don't seem to need a huge hierarchy. They're just these are brutal combat guys. They're here to survive a lot of damage and kill a lot of people. They're not about
following orders.
Yeah, they don't need 15 lieutenants to tell them what to do.
Yeah, they're not precision striking, timed.
No.
Just go this direction, kill everything gets in your way.
Yeah. Basically. Well, their tactics are pretty cool. We're going to jump into that. Little Thunder Warriors, towering in statue, are formidable in combat, employed direct assaults, leveraging their immense strength to overwhelm foes with unyielding aggression. Demonstrating adaptability, they swiftly adjust tactics to exploit enemy weaknesses and secure strategic advantages on the battlefield. Mastery of close-quarter combats and utilization of brutal chain weapons struck fear into adversaries, sowing chaos and demoralization before delivering decisive blows. Coordinating with other Imperial forces, such as Custodian Guard and early Imperial formations, ensured a unified front in the relentless campaign to unify Terra under the Emperor's banner. Yeah, so even any of that precision striking or any of that stuff, they're leaving the important stuff to, a very specialized regiment or the custodes.
Yeah, they're kind of like the brains, and then they coordinate the whole battlefield. Because again, you can't forget there's other humans, other Imperial regiments. It's not just Thunder Warriors.
Yeah, they're too much of a blunt instrument to be thought of as and I think if you were to do this old Earth game, they would just be have some hilarious rule they have to target the closest thing or something. That's kind of the way they are. They're I'm here to kill stuff. They're not tactical things.
Yeah, if they can assault, they have to assault.
Yeah. Oh, that's good too. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. They're both kind of kicks in.
Since it's our game and we can do it, we want, we'll do like movie Marines, but movie Thunder Warriors. So their stat lines are like they have 5 wounds. You know, they're
Buffed out.
They're all buffed out. So you know you're playing them and you're putting your 5 models down against 15, 30, 50.
1,000.
It's a swarm versus just your Thunder Warrior. Yeah.
It's how many people can afford. Because remember, you got to 3D print your own. So.
Yeah. Depends on time and money.
Exactly.
Oh, is that how you balance the battles? Is how many models you can afford to put on the table?
That's
There's actually a cool kind of derailment here. It's like a tabletop RPG game where you create monsters out of like Play-Doh, and those are your miniatures, and you can create as many miniatures as you have putty. So you could do like a horde and like do a lot of little guys, or do one big powerful guy. It's cool because you can like mash them after, and it's a really cool concept.
Save this for Dad Hammer, mi amigo. We got to do Dad Hammer. We can do Play-Doh Astartes. I'm also thinking we can do bedtime tales, 40K bedtime tales for our children.
Amazing.
It'd be a beautiful thing, Dad Hammer.
Stay tuned for that. Right. Let's get into the abilities and flaws of the Thunder Warriors. The Thunder Warriors were colossal, towering over most Space Marines. Despite their physical deterioration, the few Thunder Warriors who survived the end of the Unification Wars remained formidable adversaries, capable of outmatching even Astartes and at times outperforming Custodians in combat. Severely deteriorated Thunder Warriors could still engage and overpower multiple Astartes simultaneously. They were engineered to be highly resistant to psychic attacks, likely due to the sorcery they regularly faced during the Age of Strife, with any mental assault inflicting severe pain on the attacking psyker. Their upper body strength was unparalleled, and coupled with their early model power armor, they were virtually unbeatable in close combat. Even a heavily deteriorated Thunder Warrior could kick through the torso of a normal human with ease. That's very specific, Mark.
It's just that Arc Tyrannus book. I just remember reading, being like, he's doing the prison break and he's kicking through Astartes left, right, and center. I'm like, what the fuck is happening here?
Their bones are thicker than those of an Astartes, enabling Thunder Warriors to shatter an Astartes skull with a headbutt. Their reflexes were extraordinarily enhanced, allowing them to dodge plasma gun shots while simultaneously engaging 2 other Astartes in battle. The genetic template of the Thunder Warriors was unstable, making them prone to fits of bloodlust and instability. They were short-lived and suffered from numerous mental and physical health issues, often dying suddenly or becoming insubordinate. Unlike the later legions of Astartes, Thunder Warriors lived as warlords and relished battle. Their human emotions were not purged, and they were known for their dry humor. That's a interesting ability or flaw.
It's a flaw.
Some of us suffer from that. Others have outrageous humor, but you'll get you in trouble either which way about it. Yeah, like they are powerful, these Thunder Warriors. They are capable of taking on Custodians and Astartes. Like it's a coin toss up. And if it's an Astartes, I think I'm giving it to Thunder Warrior every time.
Yeah, if it's a 1v1.
Yeah.
I think like if Astartes can coordinate, it's almost like a Custodes versus Astartes debate. Like if the Astartes can coordinate and use their tactics, they would like fight to their advantage and maybe take down a squad of Thunder Warriors. But if it's like a 1v1 cage match, then the Thunder Warrior comes out on top. I think that shows like
for all the Coomers out there, who do you think's the best lover though of the 3 of them? Since that's where 40K is going, I personally think the Thunder Warriors. That's how I get down.
If you're into like raw, passionate love making.
Oh yes,
Astartes are more like the full romance experience.
You don't have a vasectomy and then still have a kid if you're not doing Thunder Warrior love style. I'll tell you that much.
Wait, so what are the 3 categories? We had Thunder Warrior, Astartes, and
Custodian Guard. So you're a comforter. You're a support role. You're a good lover for sure if you're a Custodian. And then we got the Astartes, who is
he's planning out all these extravagant events. It's like oh, he's taking me out to dinner first. He's taking me to like a nice restaurant. He got me the flowers.
The blood games take on a whole new meaning.
Disgusting.
Fuck me.
Gross.
See what I mean about the humor's getting you in trouble though? Dry humor, that is the flaw.
That is the flaw. It's undeniable.
Yeah. They never specify exactly what's wrong with Thunder Warriors. Like, it's always like a vague, like cancerous deterioration, but like what that actually looks like, they don't really say, do they?
Yeah, like do they zombie rot, or is it like they can like, is their skin falling off like leprosy? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like they just don't specify what that looks like. On that note too, they're still combat effective apparently, because like the ones that were fighting in the arena pit like managed to do it while they were deteriorating, but it doesn't lend towards like reliable soldiers on a battlefield, so that's why they're like not as useful instruments for the Great Crusade.
If you already have to worry about ammunition upkeep, you don't want to have to worry about like
your soldier falling apart too.
Yeah, little vials that they have to insert every hour to stay alive.
Yeah, in the rectums.
Right. Thunder Warrior style.
Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also interesting too that like the way they're designed to, yeah, they have like a couple specific things like that flaw, but also they're specifically stronger in the upper torso, where their legs are still strong and stuff. They're not chickens or nothing, but that was one intentional thing for close quarter combats. You know, I imagine all of Terra is basically like a hive essentially, unless you're out in like the wastes,
the former oceans. Yeah. They're like gorillas.
Yeah.
Uncontrollable. They're not peaceful like gorillas are, but
yeah,
the real question is, can I take one in a fight? A gorilla.
No. You may have convinced everyone online that you can take on a puma, but I still don't
This is
believe
where you
it.
draw the line.
I draw the line at gorilla. Trust me, I've listened to enough Joe Rogan to know that you would get fucked up by a and then by comparison, a gorilla. All right, let's jump into the Thunder Warriors war gear. Their Thunder armor origins and design. The Mark I Thunder power armor, worn by the Emperor's early Space Marines, was deployed from the powered combat armor of the Techno Barbarians during the Unification Wars. It was designed primarily for terrestrial combat and not fully enclosed. Functionality. Only the upper body of the armor was powered, significantly enhancing the wearer's strength, while the legs remained unpowered, covered by padded breechers or simple steel plates. Symbolism and production. Named for the Raptor Imperialis symbol used by the Emperor, the Thunder armor varied in design, reflecting personal taste, and was locally produced without a standardized template, making it noisier and less suited for stealth operations compared to later models. So no Raven Guard, guys. They're out. The Raptor Imperialis symbol is cool. I learned that was Terran Marines will wear that. So if you've served with, like, if you're a Terra Marine, you'll have that on your armor somewhere.
Yeah, that's super cool.
It's that eagle head with the thunderbolts, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
Raptor head, but like the bird raptor, not the dinosaur.
Are they the same thing?
Hard to say. Give it 1,000 years, maybe. Yeah, we also got weapons that go with them. In their earliest days, before the Imperial science birthed greater weapons of destruction, the Thunder Warriors wielded las rifles. As time progressed, the Thunder Warriors were equipped with an archaic yet formidable pattern of what would become the standard Astartes bolter. The Thunder Warriors wielded brutal chain weapons, such as chain swords, designed to instill terror in enemies. The savage roar and visceral carnage of these weapons served not only as instruments of death, but also as harbingers of fear, demoralizing foes before killing blows was struck. Yeah, like, it's interesting too that like they kind of 200 years is a long time, and that's how long this Unification War lasts. So they have a couple variations. They first come out and they have just padded breachers and las rifles, but at the end, like, it almost looks like they're wearing full power armor at that point.
Yeah, they start to look more like Astartes.
Yeah, they got their bolters. James, there's one slide in there with a bunch of blue Thunder Warriors. Maybe flip to that one.
Yeah,
because if you've been watching our slides, it's a lot of gold and lightning and thunderbolts, but there's also this other variant of the blue with the gold lightning. They almost look like Ultramarines.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing too you mentioned about the lower legs of being unpowered. Maybe physically their upper body strength comes from the power armor. Like, not to say they aren't super strong out of armor, but like it's odd to me that they would be weaker in the legs and then also have it unarmored. If anything, their legs should be
the leg power and put it into the get jacked, son. Yeah, they took the leg, put into the arm, the leg power put into arm power, beef that up, and
just switch the parts.
Yeah, and unpowered.
Yeah,
fuck. I've seen some models built that way. It's not good.
You're doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong. Yeah, but like unarmored or unpowered doesn't mean unarmored too.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
when you look at a lot of these pictures, they're still wearing like steel greaves. But
yeah, and that model, like, it looks like they have chainmail between the plates. So like, again, not unpowered, but like,
yeah,
it looks way more archaic than power armor.
Yeah,
and that's an official GW model, right?
Yep, that's the one. Yep.
Yeah. There's another one too, which I was actually curious about, the weapons section, Mark, where he's holding like something that looks like a custodian spear. Have you seen that model?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like a reference to the lore, if it's just like a basic power spear, or if there's
he just picked it up.
Yeah, he killed the custodian and took his weapon.
No, he did.
Terra,
Yeah, that's the Air Rat exclusive model.
Yeah, I didn't read anything about that, but you know, we just picture this old Earth setting, and how many different brutal weapons would there be? You know,
infinite.
And how much is the Emperor really taking weapons away from people? Hey, you can't use that. Has he said that ever?
No, here's what they'd probably be like a lot of like overcooking plasma, but it's like always overcooking, and that's all the weapons. Like they have like a high chance of killing you.
It only doesn't kill you if you roll a 6.
Yeah,
it overheats on like 1 to 5.
But if it hits, by goodness, he's still got to roll the wound.
Excellent.
All right, let's roll into some notable Thunder Warriors. Scanned. Oh,
sorry. Before we go into that, could we just talk a little bit? Like, we've been doing the slides show, so I haven't talked a lot about the actual physical appearance, but like they have helmet plumes on them, like helmet hair. They got some like what do you call like the crest? I guess would be helmet crests. Sometimes they have full face plates. Maybe just flick through some of these photos here, James, so we can see a smattering, and maybe I can describe instead of that guy has a cigar in his mouth.
That's standard issue.
Standard issue.
That's the only thing that was standardized.
Yeah, like the one on the right, like that. That guy has like he killed like a white puma, slung it around his shoulders.
That's me.
Yeah, that's Christian. Yeah.
The left one is like, that's official GW art though, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's Blanche art. I think there's 3 notable Thunder Warrior artworks from John Blanche. Is it John Blanche?
Yeah.
Whatever. Blanche.
He just I'm pretty sure he just started his own mini company there.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I haven't seen anything. I just heard the rumblings, but I'll check.
Yeah, I saw one picture. I want to dig into it and see what that's about.
But yeah, as you were flicking through these pictures, man, you can just see all the variation. And like, even though there's only like 10 pictures of Thunder Warriors, there's such variation in each guy. Here's a nice picture of my OnlyFans.
I don't know how that got in there. Do you want to go back to those Blanche ones? I just want to mention something. It's interesting on this one that the helmet looks a lot more like an Astartes. Like, you would think you're looking at a Space Marine.
Yeah, for sure. And even though that is, like you said, a John Blanche one, so like, you know, 30-year-old artwork.
Yeah. I also like them in gold. I don't like so much like the ultramarine colored one.
Yeah.
They definitely.
Yeah, no, the gold's the thing. Like, why not? If it's there, use it.
Right. You want me to roll into notable Thunder Warriors?
And maybe let's do one more slide picture here over to the OnlyFans picture. Yeah.
You want the OnlyFans?
Oh, yeah, there we go.
That's me. That's
okay, because this is for the Patreon. This is just a classic picture of some of the scales of, we'll go from left to right, a Custodians, then a Thunder Warrior, then an Astartes, then a human. And you can even just see that the Thunder Warriors is taller, and like he almost looks like a strong man, you know, where they almost got a little bit of that gut, but very like you look like a strong man build. Where the custodies and the Astartes are more like, like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime type build. Define. Yeah. A little more meat to the Thunder Warriors. What I mean?
It noticeable too on this is how much less augmentation they have, like as far as like the things that would go in their bodies, like the black carapace. The black carapace is where I was going with that. Yeah. Get out of here, Christian.
Yeah, and then we got the feeble human on the right.
I mean, that dude's pretty jacked too, though, to be fair.
That is the worst mugshot of all time. And then you go into prison with those three.
To be fair, this isn't official art. So, I mean, it's reliability. I trust it. Like, it reflects pretty accurately based on all the descriptions we have of everything. But technically, it's not official.
Is it accurate, then, that they wouldn't have, like, all the body modifications?
I would imagine, yeah. They don't need it. Like,
yeah, like they don't get wired into the arm.
Right.
Yeah, and like it doesn't have to be environmentally sealed, and that's another aspect of that black carapace, just like another kind of layer of protection around you all, and like,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, like to me, as far as I care, this is official, but it is not technically.
Look, that dude can draw half-naked men. I can tell you that much. Beyond that, we should return to the notes.
Okay. Notable Thunder Warriors. Do we just want to go through it, Mark?
Yeah.
We all pick our own favorites. Put forward your champion.
My champion sucks, to be honest with you. But that's part of his charm. Scand was the first Thunder Warrior to fall in battle during the Unification War. His name was etched into the Shrine of the Comet. But it's cool, man. Like, it's interesting that even though the outcome of the Thunder Warriors, I think, was always ultimately destruction, there's still acknowledgement. Just like, we still have statues to the traitor Primarchs in some spots. They haven't all been removed. There's still some homages and, like, legacy.
Do you know anything about the Shrine of the Comet? Is there anything on it? It's just a throwaway line.
No, and I did a full scour. I did, like, three websites, and I even asked Chatbot.
So it's reliable. You did your due diligence.
I did.
Right. Well,
yeah, that was my guy.
Yeah. There's nothing about where he fell or who he was fighting against.
No, like he was just the first guy who got fucking pot shot, and that was that. Like.
But who knows? I mean, like, maybe he has a storied legacy, and he just happened to be the first one to die right after slaughtering, 30 villages.
Yeah, 50 guys. Yeah. Yeah, he might have won the battle and then succumbed to his wounds,
Yeah, right.
Like,
yeah, we just got to amp up your choice a little bit.
No, it's better. It's better this way.
Thanks,
he just died. That's his only thing.
That's his legacy.
He's like that guy in Saving Private Ryan when the bridge goes down and just instantly shot. That's him.
Exactly.
And the Emperor's like, get that guy's name for me.
We're signing up to World War III, man. This is the approach I'm going for. I don't know about you two idiots, but I'm getting pot shot right off the bat.
Spare the suffering later.
Probably buy one of you two.
Friendly fire.
Oh, I didn't realize my safety was off.
Well, I'm going to put forward my champion. So we kind of mentioned earlier Eric Tyrannus. So he's a hero even amongst the Thunder Warriors. Like, his name is known. I'm trying to do this off of memory, which is probably a bad idea. So feel free to fact check me, James.
Fact check false.
But he really comes into the Outcast Dead book, and he's one of the survivors of the Purge. And it's from him that we learn a lot about the Thunder Warriors to begin with. And he's got some cool
titles.
Yeah, he's got and he goes by different names too. And even in the Outcast Dead, because he's like in hiding, he's like in charge of like the slums and stuff as like a crime boss essentially. And his whole goal is actually to stabilize the Thunder Warrior, not gene seed, but like stabilize the Thunder Warrior genetics to have him survive and have whatever surviving Thunder Warriors. He has another one that works with him. Is his pseudonym Babu Dakal, or is that the name of the Thunder Warrior that works with him? There's another Thunder Warrior that's kind of like his bodyguard. But the two of them are like also to speak to their. So they were great war heroes, survived the Battle of Mount Ararat,
became a criminal warlord, and that's where that Babu comes in.
Yeah. But that's the crazy thing too, is like they're on Terra, so they're skilled enough to avoid like living in the heart of the Empire and still go on undetected. With
custodes probably hunting them.
Exactly. Like that speaks, I think, a lot to his abilities. And then further to that, like his whole noble goal of trying to like stabilize Gene Seed. He isn't just like a dumb brute. Like he's actually pretty smart. He's a scientist, and it's kind of left vague and open-ended, but he does steal the Gene Seed from a dead space marine, or marines plural, and it's implied that he's going to use the Gene Seed to stabilize whatever surviving Thunder Warriors are left, including himself. Which, if you allow me, it rolls into the army that I created. Also one thing too about Eric is that he doesn't blame the Emperor for what happened to the Thunder Warriors. He actually is like very understanding of what the Emperor did. He's like, I get it. I see why he had to do that. So it's not like he like holds it against the Emperor. He's still loyal to the Emperor, even after everything.
Even after the Emperor tried to kill him.
Yeah, that's true loyalty.
That's love.
Learn something about that, James. Next time I try to kill you, you jerk.
You jerk.
My wife tries to kill me every day, okay? But I'm still like here.
Yeah, this might be one of the only Thunder Warriors with like a clear and distinct goal beyond just like survive,
kill
next
things.
Battle, survive, escape, survive.
Yeah, so he's pretty cool. Sorry,
Victor of Gadadir, the Last Rider, the Butcher of Scandia, and the Throne Slayer. So pretty cool titles he has.
Yeah, so like he's obviously done a lot in his career. Like he's known. Should I roll into my like fanfic now or later, Mark?
Yeah, now. Fitting.
Okay.
It's worthy.
Yeah, so when not Thunder Wars, what do you call the fantasy guys? Sigmar. No. I was gonna call them Sigmar.
Yeah.
What are they called actually? Stormcast.
Stormcast Eternals.
Yeah. So with the whole Thunder theme and everything, I was like, oh, these would make great Thunder Warriors. But instead of doing like the old world thing, I was like, I want them to be in 40K. So kind of like my fan fiction lore that I made for them was that Eric Tyrannus like escaped. He stabilized the not Gene Seed, but whatever process they used to make Thunder Warriors. He hit off into like the dark reaches of the galaxy and created an army of like Neo Thunder Warriors who would kind of like roll out into the 40K universe and just start like smashing stuff because they would be like as powerful as Thunder Warriors. And the interesting thing about them is that they would see, because Eric Tyrannus is still loyal to the Emperor, they would see like their consequences of the Horus Heresy and everything and look at Space Marines as like weak. And because he's from like the actual era where the Emperor walked the earth, they'd look at the Empire as it is now and be like, this is not what the Emperor intended. And so they could be enemies of everyone. They would fight loyal, like Imperial forces. They would fight Chaos. They'd fight Tyranids. Like they just fight everything. So
that gives me another core rule for a game that we're creating of Old Earth. They fight everyone. So here's the thing. Nobody plays the Thunder Warriors. You put a group of 5 Thunder Warriors on the side of the table, like off the table, and every turn you roll a dice, and you better hope to fuck that those Thunder Warriors don't show up. They just go at whoever's nearest to them, and they're not controlled by either side because we're battling for Terra. The Emperor has his own goal. We're battling for it.
Oh, so
you're the warlord.
You play.
We are the warlords.
You never plays the Emperor.
No, but you can never play as the Emperor. But like I said, there's a chance that Thunder Warriors might walk up into your war zone and fuck both of you guys up, which would be fun too.
I just want Thunder Warrior models. That's all I care about.
You can still have them in this scenario.
Get them. If you want that crappy, like 20-year-old model, you can get it.
Yeah, those models were pretty cool, man. You did a good job on them. A couple really cool things that you did were like old school Horus Heresy bolters on them. Yeah, like Phobos pattern bolters. Very cool.
Yeah, I tried to stay with the theme. And I really like the Stormcast models. I hate to say it, but I do like them.
Sure, man. They're
I hate
great.
their look, but
Yeah, they're great models. We could say that about a lot of the shit GW does. Great models. Horrible fucking lore. What were they doing there?
James, you have
I did have one. Mine was okay, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, so just bear with me. Vizula Vurt. That's what I'm going with. He's the guy that got killed in the gladiatorial rings, because I just think it's hilarious that he managed to survive the slaughter and the culling only to end up getting killed in a gladiatorial fight. I think that's hilarious.
Do you think he was happy with his outcome?
Yes.
Is he like an orc? He just was happy.
He died doing what he loved.
Yeah.
Committing violence and war crimes.
I guess, I mean, if you're a Thunder Warrior and that's what you're in for,
It's
then...
only a war crime the first time. No, it's never a war crime.
If you don't know, you don't know.
It becomes a war crime after.
Or is that like the Batman thing where like every time you kill a murderer, you just increase the number of murderers? Not if I kill a lot of people.
You just broke the math. Actually, something I want to go back to, Mark, real quick. I totally glossed over. Was when Psychers attack Thunder Warriors, it actually hurts the Psyker.
Yeah, okay, interesting.
Yeah, so it just like bounces their attack back at them, which has cool tabletop implications, but also is just like cool lore wise too.
Yeah. I'm telling you, that would be sweet. You just put down 5 on the side, and every turn you roll, both of you guys like, please don't come in and fuck up our game. It's like if a little kid comes in and just flips your table. You're like, fuck.
Love it.
All right, let's talk about the important things in life, the finer things, and that's culture. The cultural impact that the Thunder Warriors had on Terra is pretty significant, as you would believe. Plenty of destructions of old culture, so the eradication of local traditions. The Thunder Warriors, with their brutal efficiency, dismantled the varied cultures and traditions of Terra's fragmented states. Cultural homogenization. Imposition of imperial culture. The Emperor's vision included a homogenized culture that eradicated regional differences. Impact on art and expression. Marital themes in art. The dominance... Oh, yeah.
No marriage.
They eradicated marriage.
Martial themes in art. The dominance of the Thunder Warriors, man, that really gives a different tone. The dominance of the Thunder Warriors influenced art and literature, shifting themes towards martial glory and the Emperor's divine right to rule. Suppression of dissent. Any form of artistic expression that questioned the Emperor's rule or lamented the loss of pre-unification cultures was ruthlessly suppressed. Social hierarchies and power structures. Rise of the elite warrior. The Thunder Warriors themselves, though eventually purged, set a precedent for a new warrior elite. This warrior class, embodied later by the Space Marines and Custodes, became a new societal ideal. Power and respect were increasingly tied to martial ability and loyalty to the Emperor. And finally, the suppression of religious practices. Concurrent with the rise of imperial hegemony, the Emperor initiated the ruthless campaign against religious institutions and beliefs. Temples were razed, sacred texts burned, and religious leaders purged as the Emperor sought to establish his secular imperial truth. So basically, he just took the planet and made it his in every way. Took away anything special and made it his.
Yeah, it's super interesting, like the idea that, okay, this is like the most pure embodiment of the Emperor's imperial truth. Like no religion, no uniqueness. Everyone's going to be this, like, I don't know, atheist commune of culture where everyone's exactly the same. And it's so funny that I guess the irony of it being Holy Terra later, where this is now the center of religiousness in the universe, is hilarious also.
Yeah, like if the Emperor came back, how many more temples would he burn on Terra alone?
Well, that depends. Maybe he wanted the temples to be built.
Yeah, man.
He's ascending to godhood, just like Horus said.
Just as planned.
It's all according to plan.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool things that he kind of did, and like how it really affected. Like the rise of the elite warrior is interesting because then all of a sudden Space Marines roll up, and all of a sudden you want to be recruited as a Space Marine. If your planet has potential recruits, your tithe non-apt now, which means you don't pay. So that's like a benefit. Like it's privileged for sure of the warrior elite.
Not to get into real world stuff too much, but like our modern society doesn't really like elevate warrior cultures, right? Like we live in relative peace and stuff. But if you go to like Bronze Age cultures, like their stories, their songs, their heroes were like great warriors, right? Like that's something their culture and society valued. And that's what they imposed on Terra. So like, you know, you have different barbarian warlords with different cultures and whatever, and I'm sure some of them were like brutal, you know, hero worship of warriors, but others probably like the dancing civilization you were talking about.
Murica.
Murica. Yeah, like who knows what they valued as a culture, but it doesn't matter anymore because it's in ruins. So now it's only Thunder Warriors.
Yeah. Tragic, really.
Is it?
Well, it is, because this is the end of the old Earth. As we know, the Senate that we have come to love in the last hour and a half. This is
we birthed it and destroyed it in the span of an hour.
Well, just to add in, this is the idea that we're talking about, like this purging of all the culture. This is where that Last Church episode or Last Church book comes in, and it's such an interesting like way like unpacking what the Emperor's goals are, and like as it seems like the further the Great Crusade goes along, the more it kind of this pure idea that it starts with on Terra kind of starts falling apart as it gets further out. Like once you get 200 years into the Crusade, there's like little cults popping up everywhere. The lodges themselves are popping up. Like there's all this stuff that kind of breaks down as the Emperor's vision to conquer the universe and make it all just one thing. And like it can't even survive the Great Crusade, but this is like the start of it. This is where it initially is created.
Yeah, I think it speaks to like the bigger truth that like humans are naturally like spiritual, and you know, whatever sci-fi setting or fantasy setting you go into, there's always some type of spiritual or ethereal or unknown element that we're always drawn to, you know? Yeah.
And humans are naturally divisive.
Yeah.
Try to unify us and we won't.
Yeah. We're like, peace, love, and harmony, but also war and vengeance. It's fun. It's a good time being a human.
Now we just need to elevate ourselves to Thunder Warriors.
Yeah, I never stood a chance as a Astartes. I was too old by the time I learned about them. But I could be a Thunder Warriors, I think. I could. Any closing thoughts? My kind of closing thought on this whole kind of theme and topic is the saga of the Thunder Warriors is the legendary primordial giants of the Unification Wars. Stands as a brutal testament to the Emperor's relentless vision, another corpse in the pile of the corpse god.
Yeah.
Just more bodies, man.
And even themselves, like the tool gets used to kill, and then it also gets discarded in turn. So.
Yep. And then that carries on into how he treats Space Marines, and then that causes the Horus heresy, and then so on and so forth.
Yeah. I do have an argument against that. I know that that's like one of the motivations. They're like, okay, what function do the Space Marines have in the new Imperium, right? That was a big question that like was circulating amongst the legions that caused some of them to fall. They're like, when war is done, what happens with the warriors? Yeah. The thing with that is that Space Marines were also like enhanced humans. They had interests. They were really good at other things. They had other talents, like Ultramarines are great administrators. You know,
they could have had a whole life. Like you could have a 50-year-old Thunder Warrior who was then recruited, you know, and who has had 50 years of human experience before he became this demigod.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is that Space Marines like could have. I don't know if this is like necessarily directly pulled out, but it could have been the Emperor's goal that the Space Marines would have just defended the galaxy from external threats. Like there would have still been the Necrons. Obviously that wasn't a thing yet, but like that would have been a threat that the Space Marines would have had to been there to deal with. The Tyranids would eventually come, and that would have been something that the Space Marines would have had to deal with. So like there would have things you can't get rid of. Like unless the Emperor found a way to upgrade, and then I could see him be like, okay, now I don't need Space Marines anymore. I'll purge them all. But I don't know if it was a really fair like thing. Like there would have always been something else to fight. Maybe they didn't know that though, because those other threats don't come yet.
Like there's always going to be another cult to suppress in an empire of millions planets,
billions.
Like, short-sighted Astartes. Just.
I do like that concept though,
and that's why I guess they were replaced with Primaris.
Get out of here!
Even better. It's okay. They had an upgrade function though that made it okay. There was no upgrade to Space Marine from Thunder Warrior.
Huh. Okay.
Primaris Thunder Warriors.
Oh, what if there was like, what was the one you mentioned that was your favorite?
Eric Karanis.
Yeah. What if that guy did live and then he became a Space Marine? That's how he survived. And then he became Primaris through Rubicon crossing. He's still out there somewhere as a Primaris Marine.
Thunder Warrior.
Yeah, and he's just like a regular intercessor nobody guy. He's just hanging out.
Just very powerful for no explicable reason. Who is this guy? I don't know. Where did he come from?
Yeah, where did this guy come from?
It's like quietly sitting there, like 3 times the size of everyone around him.
Yeah, I like it. Old Earth lives.
We made it. It's the next setting, Mark.
Do you guys have any closing thoughts?
I don't know how I felt about the Thunder Warriors when they came out. So, like, just in real life timelines, like the Thunder Warriors were just like mentioned in passing. And then kind of around the time of the Outcast Dead, they started to flesh out the whole thing about them. And that's where the whole thing of them being more powerful than Astartes were. That's where it started. And I don't know how I felt about that initially. I felt like it was kind of crapping on the Astartes. But I've come around to it now. Like they're cool as like just this brutal machine that has like a singular purpose, but they're not really fit for the Great Crusade, and that's why they kind of get disposed of. But at the time, I was kind of like, I don't know. That was just my general feeling about it. But I'm okay with it now. I'm in
second to warm up to a Thunder Warrior and his humor styles. I get you.
His dry humor.
Yeah, take the second. Yeah, James, you got any thoughts?
I mean, I kind of was alluding to it earlier with kind of the way it sets up. I think it's a good setup. They have their own unique style. They have their own unique approach to like how they do things. Aesthetically, they're quite different from Space Marines, but they do kind of feel like the first version. So like I feel like they do the job quite well of being, this is the initial thing. It didn't work very well, but it had all the basic raw materials for what became the Space Marines after. So I kind of like it in that. I like it showing like the Emperor just being an absolute jerk to people that serve him. I think that's a cool aspect of it too. Like, you use I mean, and that's how he treats the Primarchs too, is just like, oh, you're a tool of mine. I don't care about you. And sometimes you can debate it. I don't want to.
I'm going to argue with you.
No, I won't take it because he usually uses his sons as like a tool, and like anything else just seems to be like an Arthur doing a unique thing. I don't know. That seems to be the way he treats things. Is like, I have this vision, and I don't care who I'm going to like
step over to get it.
Yeah, I'm going to mow down anything in order to make my vision happen. So
I think that works conceptually, but I'll fight with you on the Primarch episode. So
that's fine.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, it's like he goes into personally name things, and then he just wipes them out. Like, okay.
But that sounds like maybe he just has like, oh, I no longer need these things.
Yeah,
they don't serve the purpose, and maybe he just thinks is like, oh, in order to like create loyalty, in order to create like the heroism, in order to create my army, I need to like show these things.
It's all strategic.
Yeah, and he doesn't care. As soon as he's done with it, it's like, okay, exterminate. So
yeah, exactly.
It works for me. Fits the Emperor's character.
Yeah. So we're not quite done the episode yet, boys. We are bringing back, who knows how often, but we're bringing back a Tales of the Warp segment. And basically the concept of this is like, what happens out there in the warp to some of these ideas that we have? They get fucked with and twisted, and what happens out there? Conspiracy Corner. The question we're raising, and I've had this question asked me many times, so that's why I chose this one. Did the old ones create the Tyranids to defeat the Necron? I will lay out some of this and then we'll kind of discuss it. So desperation in the War in Heaven. Well, let's give some context actually to the old ones in the War in Heaven. So we jump back 60 million years ago and we got this race of reptilian frog people, old ones, who like to go around and seed the galaxy with life, I guess. But during their seeding, they run into Necron, who, they get into a huge war, the War in Heaven. And this war flops back and forth a couple times. The old ones are winning, and then the Necron are winning. Then the old ones get more races, and then the Necron gets Satan, and back and forth it flips for millions of years, potentially. A long time, the War in Heaven. So, desperation in the War of Heaven, amidst the cataclysm conflict known as the War in Heaven, the old ones found themselves besieged by the relentless Necron and their insidious Satan overlords. In their desperation to alter the course of this apocalyptic struggle, this theory posts that one of the old ones forged the Tyranids as a devastating bioweapon. Engineered evolution. The rapid evolvement and unparalleled ability of the Tyranids might result in the old one's supreme bioengineering, crafted to counter any conceivable threat and adapt to any battlefield. And the final one, kind of reason for doing this, is galactic cleansing. Another dimension of the theory suggests that the Tyranids were designed to scour the galaxy of all life, including the Necrons, to deny them their victory or to reset the galaxy in preparation for the old one's eventual return. So those are kind of the three big things. Anything jump out to you?
Oh, I got ideas here.
Should I carry on with the arguments supporting and then counter?
Yeah, lay out the whole case, and then we'll fight
about
it.
Okay. Arguments supporting this theory. Sophisticated bioengineering. The Tyranids exhibit an advanced level of biological engineering that could imply the hand had a creator race with immense scientific powers. Purposeful design. The Tyranids relentlessly focus on consumption and assimilation of biomass, can be seen as a deliberate design to ensure the annihilation of any opposition, a hallmark of the old one's desperation. And the counter arguments that I could find were lack of canon evidence. Obviously, that's not stated, so we got to just say that right away. There's no official lore about this.
I think that's the argument right there, but go on.
Sure,
Christian.
Yeah. There's not one word that even has Tyranids and old ones in the same sentence, let alone paragraph.
Or book.
Tyranids' origins. The canonical scripture suggests that the Tyranids hail from another galaxy. So this is pretty big holes in this theory. Driven by insatiable hunger rather than purposeful creation by an ancient race. And finally, the ineffectiveness against Necrons. The Shadow in the Warp does not affect the Necrons, and the Tyranids gain no biomass from them, undermining the idea that they were designed specifically to counter the Necrons.
I rest my case.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay. Let me jump in here. Okay.
Please.
So the Tyranids don't make sense evolving on their own. They're too they don't a lot of life forms form equilibriums with their environments. Because if you had something that just dominates and eats everything, if the Tyranids had no way to get off of a planet, in their evolution, they just consume the whole planet and it'd be gone, and there'd be nothing to do, and then they just die out on their own. So there's an element of, okay, this doesn't seem natural because it doesn't form that equilibrium to
Careful, James. You're walking on
no
territory.
Shut up. I'm doing it. The other, even viruses evolve to be less lethal over time, right? Because otherwise, if they were too lethal, they'd kill all their hosts, and then they just die out. So
they burn out.
That implies to me very strongly that the Tyranids had to have been created on purpose as a weapon. I don't see it as necessarily a drawback that they came from a different galaxy, because the old ones conceivably could have gone to the other galaxy to build this thing and then send it back. That seems totally reasonable to me.
Yeah, they have webway technology. They got all this crazy tech. They could, sure, galaxy hop, sure.
Yeah, maybe I don't see that as a problem. Man. Yeah, that was all conceivable to me. So the only real thing that I find is good evidence that this shouldn't be the thing is the element of the Necrons in them seem to just avoid each other. So what's the point of doing that? So that is a fair one. That it isn't the old ones that did it, but I think it's pretty hard to imagine that this was a naturally evolved species.
Yeah. Do you want to say something before I jump into my theory about this, Christian?
Me?
Yeah.
Other than the fact that there's no evidence in any of the canonical scriptures of this even being an issue at all.
So point 1 and 2, you're sticking to those two.
Yeah. Kind of a derailment.
Oh God.
This match is, and I don't know what came first, but Halo has a very similar story. And I wonder if this fan theory was lifted from the Halo stuff or not, or like what came first.
And that's
but
like the flood,
essentially
right?
Halo. What?
That's like the flood, right?
Yeah. And Halo has like a precursor race that fought against the Forerunners, and the precursors actually turned themselves into the flood.
Oh,
And,
I didn't know that aspect.
Yeah. And like as a bioweapon because they were desperate in their war. So like it sounds eerily similar.
Yeah.
Which makes me not want to make it canon.
Okay, but do you agree that it doesn't make sense that the Tyranids could have just evolved on their own?
Dude, this is 40K. Nothing makes sense.
Well,
no,
that's your argument.
No. Things can make sense. I like this is just supposed to be a creature that exists in nature, or a species that exists in nature. The way it works is just like a locust going across things, going across the whole universe. How before they had space travel, how could they exist that way?
Do locusts exist?
Yeah, locusts
exist.
exist.
Well, then that answers
but
your question.
They don't have the ability to conquer a whole planet the way.
Sure, but they didn't have to start that way. Maybe they evolved interplanetary travel first, and then they started annihilating planets. But they're like, we'll collect resources from every planet, and that's the equilibrium that they've achieved.
I don't know.
And maybe after like millions of years, they'll come back around again.
Yeah, they're on the planet, and like they're not spacefaring. But then they're all of a sudden the population hits 10 billion, and all of a sudden the warp takes notice of them, and that gives them like maybe some additional warp powers, obviously, and all that kind of stuff. So through like maybe with some warp fuckery sprinkled in there, you could get that natural evolution.
Yeah, but, and it could be that the Tyranids are also like there is some intelligence in them, right? With the whole gestalt consciousness. So like humans are really terrible about living in equilibrium with their environments. Maybe in their galaxy, they were like the dominant species. They created a consciousness. They're like, hey, let's just eat things forever. And there you go. They're just like a metaphor for humans' insatiable lust of never-ending consumption.
Yeah, tiny plastic soldiers. I know.
Exactly.
So here's kind of my work on theory. So I think they were made. And I've said this on a very old episode of Lorehammer. So some of you might have heard this theory. So yeah, they were made, but they were made from who knows what in another galaxy. And their purpose is, so you have a galaxy spanning empire. You still need resources. Your galaxy is millions of years old, and you've had this empire going for millions of years. You're running out of resources. So you create this race that can go to other galaxies. They're basically drones. They go to other galaxies, feed on all the biomass, all the resources, and then bring it back home. So it's that they have two parts. They're part collector and part soldier.
That makes sense. In your mind, does the sending out race control them, or did they get taken over by them and accidentally kill themselves too?
I don't go too far into it, but like it could go either way. But I like to think that no, it's working as planned, and maybe like the hive synapse is like the psychic communication of the people from another galaxy, like the original creators, and that's
couldn't they be Tyranids themselves?
It could be Tyranids.
Oh, like Tyranids created Tyranids to do this?
It's all Tyranids all the way down.
Well, that was some sort of like maybe like the warrior is what they actually look like.
You're right, exactly. And then they branched off into
they just created evolutions of themselves to go out and explore.
Yeah, like once you unlock bioengineering, like does your base form matter even anymore? Maybe only to the elite or the religious rank or whatever, you know?
That's kind of cool actually. I like it because that actually kind of works well with like everything about them is consuming, but it has a purpose other than just
replication.
Yeah, because if
And
your
goes, brings it back.
if your goal is to make your species survive,
Not a
just
good
consuming everything and then leaving husks everywhere doesn't do that. So the idea that it's a harvesting makes much more sense. I like that.
Yeah. I've never been a super big fan of this old one thing. Like that, to me, there's just nothing really of substance there, but so many people mention it and really like it. And I would love to hear maybe somebody join the Patreon next episode and join our live chat. And you can tell me why you like this one. Did I do a good job kind of describing it? Because to me, there's just nothing really there, really. Like you got bioengineering, but even the way the old ones bioengineer, they seed. They seed planets and hope that a race sprouts up that they can then use. Sometimes it's Orc, and you're like, oh, what did we do? And sometimes it's Eldar.
That makes sense too, because like the way the Eldar made things, or not the Eldar, the old ones made things, is a little bit more uniform, and it doesn't have this like, I don't know, Tyranids are a little bit more like horror looking, whereas the stuff the old ones makes is a little bit more in keeping with the aesthetic of a lot of bipedal,
2 eyes and nose.
Yeah, they look fairly like normal as far as a human is concerned, whereas like
so you're like this like
alien
frog race, and you're like, oh, what's a good thing to make for warriors? We're frogs. Let's make these things that look like they would eat us all the time. Perfect. I don't know. I've never been a fan of this one, but I'm glad we were able to share it. If you guys have any arguments or counter arguments, send them on in. I'd love to read them on the Discord or however we get them. Do you guys have any other thoughts on that?
Just the ineffectiveness of them specifically to target Necrons just doesn't make sense.
That is a good argument. That's the only one. Like I said, in my affirmation of the argument, I don't think there's any evidence to say it's old ones specifically, but I do think they were created. That's the only way that makes sense to me.
Look at this creationist over here.
Well, that was an episode of Lorehammer, boys. How do we feel? Loosey-goosey? Pretty nice. I feel cleansed.
Feels good. It feels good to be back in the seat.
Yeah. Shoulders are stiff. I got a little fear pucker going.
The whole time.
The terror tactics.
Do you ever guys, when you're like painting and you like hunch a little bit, do you ever get that like line in your belly where it's like
you've been hunched over for too long?
Yeah, you like hunch too long and you get that like fold in your belly that like gets red. I got that right now.
And then you have to like lift the folds out and get the jam and stuff out.
Yeah, that happens.
Warhammer players are gonna evolve to be like hunchbacks.
You know it's true. You know it's true.
You're not reproducing. Come on.
I am.
Dude, this is Dad Hammer. We are reproducing.
Hammer. We are. Oh, cool. Well, closing thoughts on the whole episode, I guess. Thanks for joining in. I'm not sure, honestly. I haven't looked in that chat room to see how that went. Maybe James, let me know. This was our first time doing it, so we were kind of experimenting.
Yeah, we had a few people in there, people chatting in there. So
cool. Yeah, cool. If you guys want to do that, like it will be cool. We eventually want to break into having one call in on the show and like, hey, what did you think of the old one? You can actually then yell at us what you thought. So that'll be an interesting dynamic. But in order to do that, you have to go to Patreon and go to Lorehammer Patreon, and you can throw us a couple bucks, and that really helps the show. And you get some extra kind of cool goodies with it. So you can also go check out the Listener Lore podcast, and that's on its separate podcast feed, and send in your lore to that, lorehammerpodcast@gmail.com. Christopherson, what do you got to say for yourself?
Yeah, hopefully you'll have me back for the next episode, and
I'm reaching out. I'm already putting feelers out on the internet. Like, who else can I get in this chat room with me? So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean,
hopefully you'll be
Christian can't even get a solid internet connection.
Shit.
I have to come over here and use yours.
That's right.
Yeah, that's the craziest thing. I'm down in Panama, and Christian had worse internet than me. That's fuck.
He's not even just in Panama. You're on an island.
Yeah, fucking bonkers. If you like Christian, I don't know why you would go check out Star Wars, but Jordan's there. You like Jordan, so go check out Star Wars. Fun show about Star Wars. Which is gay now, apparently. The Force is a woman. Lesbians are giving immaculate conception now. I'm sure you'll tell us all about the goodies over at Star Wars.
Yeah.
And if you want to get a hold of James,
James complaints at gmail.com. You know where it is. It's Hotmail. It's Hotmail.
Yeah.
James complaints at Hotmail. Send me your complaints. Tell me I'm an idiot.
Cool, man. This was a lot of fun, boys. Awesome. Like I said, go join the Patreon. Our next episode, I'm thinking we carry this story on. We kind of talk about Malkador the Sigillite. How do you feel?
It's a big topic. He's like the father of everything. So
he's a cool guy. Yeah. If ever the Emperor had one compassion for one or one care for one person, it was him, you know?
Allegedly.
One friend.
Allegedly.
Even
if the Emperor can do it, you can too, everyone. Make friends. All right. Well, that's the end of Lorehammer. Thanks for joining us.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.